Hey guys, it's Spark here and welcome to the beginning of my Team Career Mode series for F1 22. I am so excited to get started and I hope you guys are too. If you're new around here, then obviously get subscribed for weekly content. And if you're unaware of what's going to happen with this series, I recommend you check out my pre-season video that I released on Monday earlier last week. And I also have a very special announcement to make at the end of this video, so stick around until that to find out more. But here we go, guys. We are going to build our very own team for F1 22. IIRL Spark Racing will return for another game cycle. And now we're just quickly setting up what the weekend structure of it is going to be. I think, like I said earlier on that video, while these videos are going to be about 25 minutes of length, this one is going to be a little bit longer because obviously we're setting up the team. It's going to be the first round, so it's going to be a little bit longer than how long the videos are normally going to be. But new for this year, we're going to put on fault frequency to standard and the type of faults to high, so we can have a little bit more of a realistic experience with this game. We're going to stay with 100 AI until I feel good enough to go up difficulty. My team icons are going to be enabled because, as you know, we are trying to get to Ayrton Senna to sign towards our team. The return to the team and the livery, I'm going to leave that for a little bit later. But as of now, I'm just going to quickly show you what we're going to do in terms of sponsor, and we're going to turn to power unit and driver. So here we go.
Some offer more weekly income. The better we perform, the more our level will go up as the team gains more acclaim. Doing this will increase the income from our sponsors.
Now, in terms of sponsor, we're going to go for Moon. 25 points is a realistic goal, all things considered that this is a new game. I'm going to struggle initially, but as the car gets better, we're going to be competing for points a little bit more regularly. In terms of power unit... Oh wait, hang on a minute.
Facilities to invest in as well. Power unit suppliers will also provide upgrades throughout the season, free of charge.
How the hell are Ferrari 97 durability? It just doesn't have it. Anyway, we're going to go with Mercedes. Enough room for development, and I think the best kind of bang for your buck in terms of money. Now, this is the key thing. Okay, so we got Jacques Villeneuve now as a team icon, as well as my boy Nico Hülkenberg and Mark Webber as well. So, looks like the leaks on the other content creator channels were right. And I don't actually notice Nico Rosberg's in this one, so his career is over. But we're going to do the one thing that Alpine could not, and we're going to make Oscar Piastri our second driver here. And once I skim through the rest of the settings, I'm just going to quickly show you our livery.
Well, first of all, thanks so much for inviting us here today. It's been wonderful to see behind the scenes. As you might expect, I've got about 1 million questions, so let's jump straight in. It's been a long time since we last saw a team owner take their own car onto the track, and the sport's changed enormously in the intervening years. Let's talk about your teammate. Now, it's clear they're excited to have signed with you, but tell me,
yeah, a lot of these questions are similar. With these questions, we're going to do anything to do with the chassis. Because this car, from what I understand from other people driving it, feels incredibly heavy. So we are going to minimize whatever damage we can on the chassis front. And let's see how that translates just before the first race. I know we're going to have a lot more money thanks to us doing the midfield option. So we're going to have a think about where we're going to invest that money within our team. As we come to, we just launched the car. This is just before the Bahrain Grand Prix, so 2 weeks. And thanks to the extra team acclaim we got from selecting the midfield option, we can select another sponsor. Now, I looked at the various goals that we had, and one thing I want to make sure is that we get that money in. So, knowing me, the one that I want to do as well, you saw it on my previous series, I'm going to sign with Distort because the practice sessions, we are going to do those no matter what. And in terms of resource points, we've got 1,000 to our disposal, so we're going to invest that in the chassis upgrade for the heave dampers, resulting in less tyre wear. So hopefully that makes our lives easier with the Bahrain track, because that is very abrasive in terms of tyre wear. But yeah, hopefully, I'm not going to expect much out of this first race. If I get points, it would be nice. But looking at the different facilities that we've got to, we obviously, everything else is on Spec 1 except the chassis, which is on Spec 2, thanks to us answering the questions. But I think one thing we're going to do, which I didn't do a lot of last season, is invest in the marketing department. So any kind of team activities will be getting a boost from us. So I'm going to play this quite strategically, because the marketing upgrade is due for the 11th, and we're going to go for an aero and chassis focus activity to finish after that, just so we get more of a bonus there. So as the activities start rolling, so that's driver camp done, so that's Piastri on a high, marketing is done, and oh, that's not good. We failed our first upgrade. So there we go. That's far from what that's far from ideal for us. So before we go to the race weekend in Bahrain, we obviously got to switch that back on thanks to the amount of resource points we've just gained. And with that development fail, that's so annoying, that's so inconvenient. But apart from that, we won't be long before we're ready for Bahrain. And something I also did as well is I went ahead and I started buying a load of driver perks while I was raising money. So that would mean more social media answers. That would mean less tile. Less engine wear, and it also means more feedback, more resource points in terms of driver feedback. But we're also going to use our resource points to upgrade a host of parts on our car, mainly from the chassis and aero, thanks to them getting the boost that they have. So we're just going to run over what we did for the practice sessions here, and as you'll see on my screen, I'm not actually running any assists anymore. So this is almost like starting from beginning, because I used the racing line as my first reference point, and that just changes entirely. So I'm a little bit more tentative than usual per the corners, but as you'll see during the practices, the target time set by Codemasters, even for 100 AI, I found it very, very difficult, and even just mastering that corner with no assist was pretty tricky in itself. But as you see with the qualifying, I am way, way off there. It was only really the race strategy practice, program that was really able to achieve something, because that means you can't get away with using DRS and overtake, so you can almost kind of cheat it. But that was the only one I could really do. But in terms of practice times, we favoured okay in the top 9. So we ended up having to quick practice the rest of the practice programs just so we can get the resource points that we need. I might introduce a cap, whether probably by the end of the season or afterwards. Obviously, let me know what you want in the comments about doing quick practices, just so it becomes a little bit more of a challenge. But as you see, plenty of development boosts to go on our car, particularly on the engine and durability side, because we are investing quite heavily into aero and chassis, but all these development boosts here, they're going to be for durability and power. And while this car does have a Mercedes engine, which has some sort of an okay-ish power, it's not the most powerful car on the grid. Because for some reason, Cody's in their infinite wisdom decided to make Ferrari the most powerful and also the most reliable. So I'm casting a lot of doubts with that one. With it just sounds ridiculous once I put it that way. But once we come into qualifying, just beforehand, we've got a lot more upgrades. We've got a lot more resource points to do in our car. So we are going to think about where we want to upgrade. The powertrain department is low, but we're going to attempt an upgrade on the ignition system, even though there's a 31% failure chance on that. Because coming up, we've obviously got Miami with 3 DRS zones. We got Imola, which obviously, okay, isn't a power circuit. We've got the new Australia, which is a lot more sort of speed focused and top speed heavy. And we also got Saudi Arabia as well. So there's a lot of tracks that actually focus quite a bit on power. But apart from that, there's still a lot more work to be done for what I felt during practice on the chassis part, because it still feels so heavy to drive, and it's very hard to get traction out of the corners, which of what I understand is sort of a wider issue as soon as you start the My Team Career Mode series. But all things considered, anyway, we are at the qualifying session in Bahrain. Now, getting into Q2 I think is probably going to be our goal here. I'm not really going to expect anything major. While it's looking on the team graphics, it shows that we're 5th fastest, but it doesn't feel like that in reality, because this car is so difficult to drive. And as you'll see coming out of this left-hander, I have to be so tentative again on the throttle. It's even after I short shift to 3rd gear. I think that's definitely a problem with this car in general. It's so easy to lose the back end. I don't know whether it's just the new tyre profiling or the new philosophy with these cars. Now, as you see, they're just going wide. Sadly, this isn't That's probably one of my better corners. I just got the line wrong, and that's probably the challenge I'm facing. We're going to no assist. Well, we do set an initial time of 1 minute 30.5, but as you'll see later on as we fast forward time, it's only good enough for 14th place. So without a doubt, we're going to have to go around again to complete yet another lap to see how much time we can take out of the lap, as we'll ride on board with my best effort to see what goes. And there we go, that's a notch press in 9 on either. Even out of that corner, that's another corner where it's easy to lose the back end, and I just have to be so tentative with the throttle input. That one I think was a lovely taking corner to go down into the top left-hander, and there's a lot of off-camber corners in Bahrain, which does make it a very nice sort of flowing and challenging circuit, but it's quite power dependent as well, and we haven't got the best upgrades in terms of power on the car. As right behind we've got, I think it's one of the Alpines on the lap as well. It won't get in our way as we stay in 5th just to give us the acceleration that we need coming out of that long left-hander, and these corners really take so much out of my tyres, so really you've got to get the lap done on the first try in reality, as we only improved by about 3/10 on that run. As we come down towards the final corner, it's going to stay within the 1 minute 30s, I feel, as we go a little bit wide, as we probably broke a little bit too early there. We've lost about a 10th coming out of that final corner. With DRS to go up to the line, it's good enough for 11th, but is it good enough to get us through into Q2? It is. But Oscar Piastri is 5/10 ahead of us, so then again, that's why we hired Piastri, because genuinely he is a talent that deserves to be on the F1 grid. And thanks for that, Elvis. And as you'll obviously know, that Jeff is gone, and we've got Mark Elvis Priestley as our new race engineer, which honestly I think is such a nice touch, because the guy used to work for McLaren. He was a constructor between 2000 and 2009. And honestly, if you've read his book, The Mechanic, about his life at McLaren, I seriously recommend that you check it out. There was a lot of stories between him and Kimi Raikkonen, and it's just a nice touch just to have him on this game. But anyway, we're going to leave our run until the very last minute in Bahrain as we come down to the fourth corner. And this run generally felt quite good as we came up to the final sector with 30 seconds or so remaining. I felt this one is surely must be good enough to get through into the Q3. But no, we spun it around the track and we've lost it! Oh dear, we've lost it coming out that corner, and that's it for us. We didn't even bother to set a time because we bottled it on the last chance. Piastri gets into 11th, so yeah, good for him. But as for us, that is not the way we would have wanted to end qualifying. I know we got into Q2, which for us was kind of the aim, but to bottle our last lap, we don't want to be P16, because this car I'm going to find it hard to overtake with. Hasn't got a lot of power and hasn't got a lot of stability, particularly at the rear, because we just haven't got the chassis upgrades that we need. But anywho, let's see what the race brings out for us.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today as we return to racing for the opening event of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to round 1 of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. We go racing today around the 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit, with 15 corners and 2 good passing opportunities into turns 1 and 4. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left tyre into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Perez, Russell, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Magnussen, Norris, and Pierre Gasly, Oscar Piastri, Ricciardo, Yuki Tsunoda, and Stroll, Latifi, the owner-driver, Alex Albon, and Mick Schumacher, Vettel, Verstappen, Joe, and Valtteri Bottas begins the race from the back of the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do, don't let me down.
Cheers for that, Elvis. Insightful as ever. I think Elvis is going to be the new Jeff, but we're just gonna overfuel the car by about half a lap, because I'm still not sure where we are in terms of fuel consumption yet. So we're going to add a little bit more front wing to the car and just adjust the setup just a tiny bit, just to make sure it's a little bit more race appropriate. But I'm still obviously trying to find my way with creating my own setups for this game. So if you've got a good setup for Bahrain, just let me know in the comments. And but anyway, we're going to go round onto our first ever immersive formation lap. Now, we've all seen a lot of info about this in part of the game. So everything's pretty much the same in terms of staying warming up the tyres. But this time you obviously control where you line up on the grid, on your own grid slot, whether you're too far or too far away, or just on the right spot, or where you angle your car as well. So I decided to keep this one in the game. But one thing I found actually doing the formation lap, as you see, the tyre temps are about 87, but because of how slow everyone was going, it was like my tyres were actually losing temperature throughout that whole race. So they were only about like just north of 80 degrees by the time I actually finished the formation lap. As soon as you come round to that final piece, there we go. So yeah, now we're just waiting to align onto our grid slot. We're right behind Nicholas Latifi, obviously the qualifying maestro of the British Grand Prix. 10th place, so I've got to say, a hell of a drive to him. I know we mock him as the king, but genuinely, it was a really good drive. Now, for us, let's line ourselves up on the grid. Let's get it right on purple. Perfect. And that's our car angled against Alex Albon. Just make sure we defend that 17th place. I'm not quite sure what they're like on the starts in this game. As the lights come on, it's our first ever round of F1 22. What's it going to bring for us? As we go underway, and there's a little bit of wheel spin off that line there, so we've just lost a little bit of ground, but it's an okay-ish start. We haven't got anyone else ahead of us at the moment. Let's come down into the first corner, and we're going to do our trademark dive bomb down into the first corner, and there we have us. We've just gotten through into 12th or 13th place, fighting with Oscar Piastri, and we get onto the curb, which means we have to back out of it. Pierre Gasly now comes ahead in 11th place. We're just having to check as well the damage on the cars, because running over the curves in this game is so easy to pick up floor damage, which just, as you know from F1 2021, just completely throws you off your game, takes more out of your tyres, and in my case helps you helps you better get your lines right, which I'm still figuring out to do, even with no assists on. So just bear with me. And like I said in this game, I'm not the best player, but I hope to provide an entertaining video nonetheless. As we come down into the long left-handed, we brake very early, as we see Lance Stroll going randomly around the outside of us. I think we took it way too easy through that corner there, and as you see, Gasly's about 1.5 seconds ahead of us. But this is what I'm worried about. Like, the tyres are not quite up to temperature, and with me running no assists on, like, it's so hard to judge. So I'd rather just play it safe and just get through the corners, just to make sure that we still have a chance in this race. Because I don't want to end our first race in retirement. Imagine that. But if it was a retirement through an engine failure, there's not really much I can do about it. But me crashing into someone in lap 1, that'll be a poor way to start this video. So there we have it. We got a little bit more. I think I found a little bit more of a balance with that particular corner in terms of where to turn in and whatnot. So we finished lap 1 and we stay in P12. So it's a good start for us. We're up 4 places. We even overtake Oscar Piastri. And the gap stays the same between myself and Gasly coming up into lap 3 as I come round to the final corner to start the next gap. And and Gasly spun right ahead of us. Gasly spun, and as we look behind us there, it looks like a bit of a pile-up. Looks like a bit of a pile-up between those cars behind. So let's see what the situation is. So Tsunoda is out of the race. Safety car has been deployed already. So 4 laps into this, and Nicholas Latifi is out as well. So look at that. We have to crawl round to the rest of the pack. And there's time penalties for Piastri and Gasly. So I wonder why. Let's go on board with Gasly to see what the situation is there. Okay, so he just lost it by himself. Parks the car. There's Tsunoda obviously unsides him and goes into him. Piastri just parks because there's nothing much to do, and he reverses into Latifi. So that's probably why Piastri's got himself a penalty, and that's Latifi's crash. I've got to say, the crashes for the suspension piece look so much, like the detail on that is incredible. But there we have it, guys. So we got 2-3 cars out of the race, and that's 10 seconds now for penalties for Oscar Piastri, which is absolutely terrible. And for us, we actually wind up in 10th. All things considered, I think a couple of people came into the pits to change their tyres. I think some of them might have started the race on softs, so it makes sense to get them out of the way and then go to an alternate strategy. But as for us, its safety car is coming in at the end of lap 6, and we've got Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo ahead of us. The two McLarens who in the charts are not quite the fastest cars. I think a lot of this track performance was designed based on where they were at the beginning of the season, and it was hard to know where McLaren were from Bahrain. It did not start off well for them at all, but as the safety car comes in at the end of this lap, we've got to judge our restart well enough, as we can't overtake until we go over the start-finish straight, but we have to wait until see what other people drop it. And there we go, we floored it, and we caught Lando napping there, and that's quite a good restart for us. We're not going to be able to out-drag him, I feel, coming into the first corner as we go on board with Lando, as he and Ricciardo dive bomb. So we're saying Lando goes into the back of Ricciardo. I think Ricciardo goes into the back of Hamilton as well, and both McLarens making contact with each other. And as for us, we're going to fight the Alpine of Esteban Ocon as we defend from Piastri behind us as well. We go round to the outside, and we're going to do the Alpine round the outside. Who's saying that we can't overtake around this track? That was genuinely brilliant stuff. As we head into the second sector, the McLarens, I think, might have been struggling with damage, as we're going to go for another dive bomb on Lando Norris. Can we get the traction to accelerate him into the next corner? No, we can't. And Esteban Ocon's coming now down to the inside of us, and we've lost the position. We're back down to 10th. And that's not where we wanted to be at all, because we know that Alpine, look at his front, look at his rear wing, it's pretty quick in a straight line, as we have to defend from the AlphaTauri. Pierre Gasly is going down to the inside of us, but we are not going to give him any quarter there. No quarter given at all, as Gasly has to stick round behind, as we're going to go back on board with ourselves to see what the skinny is with Esteban Ocon. So it's McLaren versus Alpine. These two teams were at war with each other in 2005, but now we're going to go with Fernando Alonso overtaking the McLaren rather of Daniel Ricciardo as he goes down and he makes the move stick. But I think both the McLarens, they're not quite in the best nick, as we see not one, but two of them pulling into the pits at the same time. What is happening there? They're going to be double stacking. One of the McLarens is going to lose time for sure. And so let's see what happens as Ricciardo comes into the pits. Yes! Norris is having to wait as they're changing his front wing. They're changing Daniel Ricciardo's front wing, which means Lando Norris is he's going to have to wait there. He's absolutely beast in terms of an opportunity. As we see behind, and see a lot of people going off the track. That's Piastri into 10th, and there's also Schumacher through as well. A lot of AI seem to be making mistakes through that particular corner. So I think it's quite refreshing to see on this game that we've got the AI making a little bit more mistakes, kind of like myself in some ways. It definitely makes for a little bit more an immersive, a bit more of a realistic gaming experience. So I have to praise Cody's for adjusting the AI there. And this is lap 10 as we see another mistake, and it's the Mercedes of George Russell. George Russell, it looks like he's just parked the car, and it's like he's on track. He's almost like waiting for a nice opportunity to rejoin. But let's go on board with the replay just to see what happened with him. Okay, so he was fighting Sergio Perez as he got him down around to the outside of that awkward left-hand corner. And he just outbrakes himself. He goes wide and then tries to rejoin the track, and which he's fine to do. And George, you can go. And what? And now Schumacher just goes round the outside of him. George Russell could have gone, but didn't. That is so strange. And now he's all the way at the back. And that is it for George Russell's race, it seems. But that is a weird mistake to make from the AI. As once again, we've lost it around the same corner! No, we've lost it around the same corner once again. And we lose positions to both Gasly and Mick Schumacher in the Haas. That is such a shame for us, as behind Oscar Piastri is making another attempt at a move at us as we go around into the final corner. Piastri locks up. We have to go around the outside, so a little bit sloppy there for us. It means that we've lost time to the Alfa Romeo behind. So Guan Yu Zhou and I think that's the Red Bull and Max Verstappen come into the pit lane, and as for us, it's neck and neck between us and Oscar Piastri at lap 11, and that was a messy, touchy few laps for us, it has to be said. But once it comes around to lap 13, however, it's time for us to box, and we get on the brakes just early enough. But this is where the challenging part comes in. With the way these cars are designed, well, the way the tyre rules are, it's about 70 degrees the tyres are going to be, and it's going to be so hard to get these turned in, and the turn-in speed was optimal there for us, so really, really good stuff. 2.3 seconds, so good stop from the IIRL boys in the pit lane. So there's more. I think we actually get out in front of Gazin, because I think maybe because he had his 5-second penalty. But let's see what happens for us who comes round out of the pit lane as we go wide. We go way off the track as you come down to the left-hander. You see we lose the back end there as well. We're struggling so much to get these tyres into temperature as Pierre Gasly has a dart left or right and all the way around me, as we just do not have the power to defend. As Gasly just overtakes us around the right-hander, but we're going to keep that left. We're going to keep it ourselves. God, I'm losing my breath here. I mean, very chaotic first race. You can see why this video is a little bit longer than normally would be, so I have to apologise for that. But as lap 14, as we come round to the left-hander now, we're only at about 77 degrees, so we're not at optimal temperature at range. Even if you're 1 degree down, it makes such a difference in terms of how you warm your car. But with the car, Lawton tyres, we're gonna have to take this very, very easy, as Gasly passes us now in the AlphaTauri, which means we're gonna have to see if we can stay with him. As behind us, we've got the AlphaTauri of Valtteri, I think it's Valtteri Bottas. And we've also got Sebastian Vettel behind us as well. And that just shows how tricky these outlaps are. As you see, Piastri, even with that 5-second penalty, he comes out not too far away from us, all things considered. So that was a horrid outlap from us. As we see Guan Yu Zhou and Sebastian Vettel gets out. As we lose our exit again, Vettel goes ahead of us. Sebastian Vettel goes ahead of us in the Aston Martin, which is considered probably one of the worst cars on the grid. And we are really struggling here in terms of applying the throttle coming out of the corners, which has always been a bit of a weakness of mine, even if you've seen me from the last game. But that is far from ideal from us as we come up to lap 16 on this first race of the season. Behind us, we've got Guan Yu Zhou to fend off, and I've got to say with Guan Yu Zhou, even in real life F1, I think he's had an underrated debut, so I'm not going to write this guy off completely. As for us, it's about 1 second or so the gap, and then we obviously got Sebastian Vettel ahead of us. On lap 20, we got the gap down to 0.5 seconds, but we got DRS activated, but we're running out of air so quickly, so we can't afford to actually deploy any, and as a result, we just can't actually make any inroads into Sebastian Vettel. So it's crazy to think that even with DRS, we can't really make an impact on an Aston Martin. It's a similar engine though. But as you see, this car burns earth so quickly when you start off in this game. So you have to be so careful with what you do in terms of deploying earths around this game.
There appears to be an issue. We're currently investigating.
Oh no. Oh no. No. Please, no. I can't afford to retire on the first lap. I probably jinxed myself. I don't want to retire on the first race of my series. I probably jinxed it here. Hopefully the issue isn't anything too terminal.
Okay, it's not good news, I'm afraid. Seems like an engine issue. So the issue seems to be fixed, but we'll keep monitoring it from our end.
It seems to be fixed. Well, fast forward to a couple of laps. Well, it definitely wasn't fixed on lap 21, Albus. I've lost about 1.5 seconds to Seb, and now we've got Guan Yu Zhou behind us, but thankfully, it was just at, I think it might have been an engine or a software glitch, so it wasn't terminal, it didn't cause our whole engine to blow. We're still in this race, but we've got a long way to make up on the rest of the pack. As you see in front, George Russell is coming into the pit, so that edges us much closer to the points, but we got to stay with Seb and see what comes out of it, because we just don't have the pace to catch up with the AlphaTauri or anybody else. But Seb, realistically, I think we can fight. We just can't let them get away from us. So see, we're in front. We got a retirement, and it's Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton is out in the Mercedes. You see on the top right of the screen, he's parked his car right by the exit of turn 2. So that puts us a step further towards the point. I want to go on board and see what happened with Hamilton there. And as it turns out, his engine's blown up, so he pulls off to the side, and that's quite worrying for us, because, as I said earlier in this video, we are running Mercedes power units, so that's quite worrying for us, and I'm just very lucky in the sense that that engine glitch just turned out to be an engine glitch. As Verstappen comes around into the pits, as Valtteri Bottas goes for the overtake on us, we are not going to let him have that one that easily, as we put on a very staunch defense, chopping him off at that given opportunity. We get a warning for our collision with Bottas there, which is fine, but we've got the DRS to defend at least. But we're not going to have the ERS because this car, right now at the beginning of the stage, is terrible, frankly, at recharging ERS. So there's a lot of investment we have to do on the powertrain side of the car. And thanks to the engine glitches as well, there's still a lot we have to invest on the durability part as well. So we're going to go to a little bit of broadcast cam, just to show the fight between myself and Battery Voltas, as we go down into the awkward hairpin at the left-hander, and we just about make it, but Bottas gets a much better exit off that corner. I don't see how we're going to be able to defend this one. Valtteri goes down to the inside, and there we have it. It's almost a clean overtake for Valtteri, and that leaves us down in 10th place, but there really wasn't much I could do to fight it, because the Alpha is a better car, and Bottas, all things considered, is a pretty speedy driver, all things considered. So we are going to leave it at that and just bring the car home. Thankfully, it's 1.6 seconds between ourselves and Guan Yu Zhou. Piastri had to come into the pits because I think he might have had damage, but his penalties basically ruined any chance of him getting in the points. Well, I think it was all the good debut, all things considered, for Oscar Piastri. As we see up in front, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz come across for P1 and P2, just like in real life. Ferrari are dominant in Bahrain as Red Bull trip over themselves. But as for us, this is all about us. This is always not about the Ferraris at all. We brought it home, which is an achievement in itself, but we managed to scrape 1 point, which, to be honest, I'm not too disappointed with. We knew a car was going to be horrendous to drive compared to the model I had in the S1E1 game, but as you come across the line, it's going to be points in our first race as we save a lot of ERS, but it doesn't matter now. The checkered flag comes out. It's 10th place for us in our first race for IIRL Spark Racing.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
Smiling faces on the pit wall then after that superb win here at Sakir. And rightly so, a brilliant effort from the whole team. Well, Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today, but what set them apart from the rest?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari.
Okay, so new podium celebration, them coming out. It's just kind of a nice touch. I can't wait for the day comes when we have that on our My Team Career Mode series. But it's a good result for Ferrari. Assume we're not going to be in the championship run at all. This is about how far we can get up in this particular season, as they've revamped the cameras as well for the race finishes. But that's 10th place for us, and sadly Piastri could only do 18th, but he still finishes ahead of Lance Stroll, so I suppose well done to him. And Stroll actually went 3 laps down, so he must have had some kind of damage or reliability issue or something. But there we have it, guys. That is round 1 done, and our driver acclaim goes up, our team acclaim goes up as well. Strong result, given that we have frankly a shoddy car to drive, and it won't be long now before hopefully we're raking our way back up through the field. So there we have it, guys. That's the end of this particular episode. I hope you guys enjoyed what was the first in my series for My Team Career Mode. If you guys enjoyed it, then leave a like, comment, or anything you want to see, and do subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell icon as well to be notified of any future videos coming up. So as you'll see on my YouTube banner, I'm going to have 2 episodes per week, which I think is about a healthy-ish upload schedule. And with that, guys, I'll leave on to my special announcement for this series. The first one is thus: I am giving away one of these. It's just a standard copy of F1 22, and this is to coincide with the launch of my Discord server. Now, I said in my preseason video that I wanted you guys to have a bit more of an impact on what was coming on in terms of my content, and with the Discord server, this is what I'm aiming to do. So typically, the way it will work, after every episode that's uploaded, I will leave a poll leading to a certain decision that you want to see, whether that in terms of certain upgrades or a driver signing or tracks that you want to see in terms of a 16-part season or whatever. It's a chance for you guys to have a real input and say into what you want to see. So to be entered in this giveaway and potentially get your hands on a copy of one of these, all you have to do is join my Discord server and share it on one of your socials. I really want to get this thing started to really involve you guys as much as possible on delivering F1 22 content. So with that, guys, that's essentially the big news I have. Go join my Discord, and hopefully you'll be able to get your hands on one of these. So there we go. Decisions are on the way. I think that at this point they're going to happen is after Saudi Arabia, and that episode is coming out next week. So once the winners and everything have been announced, that will be the start of the polls. So with that, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It'll see you guys on Saturday for the next episode. I've been Spark, and I'll see you guys next time for Saudi Arabia. Bye bye.